Okay, so in this video, we're going to be going over how to use forms for the purposes of tests and quizzes. So first, you need to be logged into your Felician email, which I am. So once you're into your email, go over on the top left over this square of dots, and you can see there's an option for forms. I have a shortcut for forms, but if you don't, that's okay. All you have to do is click on All Apps, and you can see Forms is right here. So click on that. So you'll be redirected to this page. So click on New Quiz, and this is where you're going to enter in the title of your quiz. So Add New is the option for adding in new questions to the quiz. So choice is the option for multiple choice questions. So here is where you're going to enter in the actual question. Options are the answers. So you can add in more options if you want. So if you hover in on the right, you can see there's a little check mark here that says correct answer. You are going to click on that if this option is the correct answer. So you can see on the right, there's this little picture. So you can enter in images and videos for your question if that's applicable to you. So if you come down here, you can see you can enter in how many points this question is worth. Multiple answers. So if your question, has more than one right answer or has two correct answers, this is where you're going to select that. Required means that the students must answer this question. I would recommend that you do this with all of your questions. So these three dots have more options. Shuffle options means that the order that the students see the answers will be randomized. So different students will see the options in a different order. And then math has to do with if you want to enter in an equation for your question. So if you click on text, that refers to open-ended questions. So same deal, you enter in your question here and you enter in the answer. So if your question is kind of abstract, as in like you're not really looking for a singular answer, you're more or less looking for detail and reasoning, you would select long answer, and that'll take away the add answer option. So it won't mark it wrong and you can read them thoroughly. Again, I recommend hitting the required option, and there are, again, math options if your question is an equation. So rating and date, you're really not going to use that much in my opinion. Rating has to do with, rating things out of 5 stars. I don't really see a use for this in terms of a quiz. So you're probably not going to use it this much, but if you do, it is, again, somewhat self-explanatory. It's the same deal. You enter in your question here and you select numerical or stars or whatever you want. Date has to do with the Outlook calendar. So if this is, for example, a history class, I would not recommend using the date option for your questions because I think formatting it in the multiple choice option is a lot simpler and a lot more effective and conducive and more intuitive to most people than this. Like I said, because this uses the Outlook calendar. So even if you're asking dates for specific events in history, this is really not the way to enter in those questions. So ranking has to do with questions that require a specific order. So let's say you're asking what order blood cycles through the body. So the order that you enter in the answers is the correct answer. So you can see there's option 1, 2, and 3. That's the correct answer, the way that you enter them in. So it's not going to be random like it is for multiple choice. So just be careful about how you're entering in the answers. And then the options will, of course, be scrambled when the students see them. And then again, you can add more options if that's applicable to your question, and how many points it's worth, requirements, again. So this option has to do with kind of that agree and not agree option. I don't really see this being utilized very much for tests and quizzes. This is really more opinion based, agree, don't agree, neutral, that kind of thing. Um, it is, again, somewhat self-explanatory, but I don't really see a purpose for this. File upload, again, I think is obsolete for forms, because this is if you want your students to upload like a Microsoft Word document for your answers, because I feel like if you wanted a Microsoft Word document, you would just enter that in Brightspace rather than utilizing a whole other application for a Microsoft Word document. This Net Promoter Score is kind of the same deal. It's asking for rankings and ratings about how you feel about things. Again, I really don't see a purpose for this in the purpose for quizzes and tests. The two that you're probably going to be using the most are choice and text. So sections is just if you want to make the quiz a little neater. You can add headers to the quiz, so you can title this, chapter 1 questions, chapter 2 questions, things like that, but it's not mandatory. So if you hover on the top where it says responses, this is where you can see the students. So it'll refer to the students by name because they're using their Felician email. It'll tell you how many responses you've gotten, how long it takes on average for a student to complete, and if it's still active. So when you're making your quiz, you can select it to only be open for a certain amount of time. Once that time has passed, it's not going to say active anymore, of course. And then, of course, this quiz doesn't have any responses, but if there were, you could delete them, you could print them. Preview is where you're going to hit just to make sure that your quiz is looking good, to make sure everything is in the right order. You can add a theme if, you want to be cute. And sharing. This is the link that you're going to send probably like in an email or in Brightspace to your students, so it'll redirect them to the forms page. Again, they'll be logged in with their Felician email. You can do that. You can QR code it. I don't know why you would do that, but you can. And that's about it.